Welcome to New Life Live with Stephen Arterburn. For 35 years, New Life has been transforming lives one at a time thanks to the giving hearts of you, our listeners. Our goal is to provide you with wisdom from God's Word to give you hope and help in life's hardest places. If you have a question you'd like to ask today, our phone lines are open. Call 1-800-229-3000. That number again is 1-800-229-3000. Now here's today's host, Becky Brown.
Hello, everybody, and happy Monday. Did you know that today is National Bosses Day? Today, we're going to be taking your calls. We're going to talk about bosses and all kinds of things. And you hear Jill laughing, and we're going to be with Dr. Jill Hubbard and Jim Burns. And you know what I always say, because people say I'm bossy, I just say I'm aggressively helpful.
Well, yeah, I'm laughing because you're our new boss. I'm like, okay.
Well, but you know, it's funny because a lot of times people have difficulty dealing with people who are a little bit stronger, right, in their opinions or their behaviors. What would you recommend to somebody who's...
Sorry, you mean people have authority issues, right?
Yeah, well, they could, but there could be somebody that is aggressive or bossy. Like, how can we deal with the bossy people in our lives? Present company accepted.
Well, one of the things about bossy people that I appreciate, being married to a bossy person, I was thinking Boss's Day, is that for a spouse or is that, and Kathy wouldn't mind me saying this actually, but you know, she's strong. She has opinions. Yeah. And I have a daughter who is very bossy, and she kind of has ruled the house. In fact, she's the boss of all bosses for us in our family. I love that. We have the hierarchy thing. But you know, what I have found about with my wife is that she also appreciates me saying, here's how I feel, because she'll do that. And so I can do that back as long as it's done with gentleness and care and whatnot, and not being rude. Kathy doesn't come off, she's strong. So she has strong opinions. Right. And she doesn't mind me having those opinions as well. And we can we've had to learn to agree to disagree. But one of the things, and I've said this on the air before, is that, you know, communication is a learned trait. And with our boss at work, or with, you know, people who are in our family who could be our boss or our bossy, right? You know, I think it's really important that we learn how best to communicate with them. And each one is different. It's personally tailored depending on the person.
Yes.
Right. I think we have to take the time to learn who people are. Right. And most of the time, most people are just concerned with themselves. Right. And they don't stop and say, okay, what is it like to be behind this person's eyes? Right. Right. And a lot of people with bossy people will recoil. Right? Yes. They'll get intimidated, they'll pull back, they'll withdraw, they'll feel controlled. Yeah. And the thing is, with most people, you need to lean in. Yeah. And because a bossy person wants to hit up against a little bit of strength. Yeah. Right? So it's like, oh, this is where I end and you begin. Yeah.
Well, you know, I remember, Kathy and I have been married 49 years, so we're going to make it, right? But one time she said, you're just being a wimp. And I thought, no one has ever called me a wimp before. But you know what she wanted? She wanted me to push back on her. Right. You know, this kind of conflict. Right. And she called me a whip. I'm still holding that against her. I just want you to know that right now.
Well, do you know, we'll pray for you, and I think you will make it. But you know, it's interesting, though, because when you have somebody who's strong, and I love strong people, and I love to hear but if you aren't strong, like you were saying, Jill, you're going to react to that in fear. And the hard part is, how do you find your voice? And, you know, it's okay for you to not be bossy, but you still need your voice, even if you aren't going to be aggressively helpful.
There's a quiet strength. There's a gentle strength. And you can come along and almost whisper opposed to their aggressiveness, right?
And you know what? Bossy people can have that quiet strength. My wife has that quiet strength. Yeah, it's good.
I think if you're either on the challenged end of a boss or bossy person, I would encourage you to find your voice and know that it's okay. You might get pushback, but it's important for you to be heard and seen. And of course, in the context of work, that could be a little tricky, but you know, you can have allies that can help you with that. But I also want to celebrate the people who are bossy. I like bossy people because I love to hear their heart, their vision, their leadership, and we can celebrate that on National Bosses Day. We'll be back taking your calls after this break.
Our marriage was just so toxic and just so many simple interactions that turned into conflict. And so we signed up to participate in the workshop.
This is Steve Arterburn. Our Intimacy in Marriage workshop examines the various types of intimacy, spiritual, emotional, and physical, as well as the challenges of experiencing true intimacy.
The tools that we received from the Intimacy in Marriage workshop were tremendous. It was so much that we were able to take and utilize and actually come back and apply.
Don't settle for a miserable marriage or even one that's just okay. It's possible to have that great marriage you always want.
The next Intimacy in Marriage workshop is October 20th to the 23rd in Dallas, Texas. Call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE to find out more or go to newlife.com. 1-800-639-5433.
Best decision we could have ever made. There's no price that we can put on having healthy marriages.
To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back. We were talking about bossy people, but the other aspect of that is that whole concept of boundaries. And, there are times that we need, when we talk about finding your voice, we need to learn where we begin and end, whether we're bossy or not, but also how to set a boundary. And many times we don't feel like we can do a boundary with a bossy person, but that's kind of what you were talking about too, Jim, is that you want to have not really pushback, but to be represented in the conversation or in the decision.
Right. And sometimes people who are, we're using the word bossy and that kind of has a negative connotation to it. But with a boss or somebody who is bossy, sometimes that's out of their own insecurities.
Sure.
So they're acting like that.
They're puffing up.
Right. Exactly. And because of that, sometimes we have to handle it in a different way, but we need boundaries. We need to be able to say, I'm not going to take that from my boss at work, or I'm not, there are certain things you just can't do.
Well, and some bosses are wonderful and are diplomatic, and you can say, can I have a few minutes to talk about something? You can ask for what you need, right?
Yeah.
And they can tell you, I've got time now, or no, I don't.
Yeah, right. And you know what? I say that in marriage. At marriage conferences, I oftentimes say, tell him what you want. I'll have, and I'm not saying this is only a woman thing, but I'll have more women say this. My husband isn't spontaneous. He's not romantic. Have you told him what he wants? No, he's supposed to know that. No, he honestly doesn't.
He's not being loving. And the guy's going, well, what does that mean?
Yes.
What does that mean?
Tell him what you want. And I think with a boss at work, even you can do that, saying, is this a better way to look at this? They want to improve the relationship too, usually. Yeah.
Right. Well, we are going to, be able to help you if you have a bossy person or, if you're in a marriage where one of you has a little bit more power than the other. We want to help you get some clarity in your relationship. So, you can give us a call. Right now, we're going to go to the phones. We're going to talk with Sarah, who's calling us from Peoria, Illinois, watches us on YouTube, and you can too. Hi, Sarah. We're so glad you called. How can we help you today?
This is a very sensitive issue, and I'll try to do it without crying.
It's okay.
Oh.
It's a blended family. I've been married 39 years, and my stepdaughter has been a thorn in the flesh off and on the whole time. I told my husband this spring I wanted to take each one of our children on a nice trip with their family, and I wanted to pay for it. Okay? And so he didn't want to go. Obviously, he was welcome to go. He didn't want to go. Well, then, when I'm gone on vacation, I told my stepdaughter that if she came out and if she cooked for her dad, that I would pay her because she won't work. She's living off of her grandpa's money on her mother's side, and she doesn't want to work. And so I told her, I said, if you come out, and I said, if you cook for your dad, I said, I'll pay you. Oh, that, okay. And so she comes out anyway, off and on. Long story short, I go on vacation. And I come back, and I'm doing something. I'm mowing the yard, and my husband gets really upset because I got some grass on his flowers. And he got really mad. And I thought that was kind of crazy for him to get so mad over something so trivial. Well, then he stayed mad, didn't speak to me for days. And so then last night, we started talking again. Well, all of a sudden, out of the blue last night, he tells me, he said, Michelle told me that I had been given good size of money out to my kids, to my son, to my grandsons, and that my daughter had been the one that told her that. Well, I called my son, and I said, have you talked to Michelle? And he said, no. And I called my daughter. I said, have you talked to Michelle? And she said, Mom, I don't talk to her much. Well, long story short, I called my daughter later, and I told her what she said, and she said she never said it. Well, my husband says, well, I don't care about seeing the kids again. I said, I wouldn't give that kind of money out without your permission. Well, long story short, he does. I don't know that last night he acted like he believed me, but he didn't want me to confront Michelle. He didn't want me to say anything about it. He just wanted to let it go. Well, again, long story short, got up this morning and I said, what did you say about not wanting to see the kids again? And he said, well, I don't really. I said, what? I said, we're talking about our kids. Because I knew he was talking about my two. And I said, I called Lori and asked her if she told Michelle that. Well, I'm not sure Lori tells the truth. I said, Lori has never been the one not to tell the truth.
So Sarah, it sounds like this is an ongoing disruption in the connection of the families and that you're trying to get to the bottom of it. How can we best help you today?
Well, I feel like cutting strings and running. And I know that's not the right thing.
Right.
But I'm tired of hurting. I'm tired of...
Yeah.
I support him over 100%, and he knows that. And it's like he wants me, but he don't want the kids. Well, we're a package deal, even though they're totally grown and have their own families. Mm-hmm. But Michelle wants to act like, well, you've never done anything for me like you did for them. Well, that's a crock.
Right. So, Sarah, you have two. He has one?
Yes.
Okay. And she's always been the one that's been difficult. And then you have these two kids that perhaps are not difficult, right? And so there may be some...
Yes.
There may be some envy there. But it sounds like she is one that stirs up strife. And having been with her dad for a week, she stirred it up. But I'm wondering about the connection between you and your husband and why so easily he would move into a place of lack of trust of you. And has that happened over the years? And is Michelle always in the middle of it, or is that sometimes something that happens between the two of you?
No, it's usually when she's in the middle of it.
Okay.
She can be just as sweet as the sweetest person you've ever met. Mm-hmm. And she'll turn around and Shirley said this. Shirley said, even as a little bitty girl, we've been married 39 years.
Yes.
Even as a little bitty girl, she tells her dad, Shirley did this to me. Shirley said that. Shirley does this to me. He came home early from work to hear me do those things. Nothing was going on. Mm-hmm. Well, then, in just a matter of years ago, probably within the last 10, she gets mad at me for almost a whole year. And when she comes out, her dad won't speak to me or direct things to me. It's like I'm here and I'm supposed to cook, but that's it.
Okay, so that's his only child, right? She came along before you. Right, because it's a blended family. I don't know what guilt he has or issues he has as a dad in raising her, right? But with our own children, sometimes we have a huge blind spot. And even though he knows about this behavior, I think he wants to see the good in her. And sometimes as we get older, we just get tired of fighting the battle. And so it's easier to see the good. But instead of getting caught up in he said, she said, and this happened, I think you need to step back and say, sweetheart, every time we've had major disagreements over the years, think about it. Michelle has been involved. And there's something in where she feels the need to be in the middle of things, or she's feeling neglected or lacking attention or something, right? And that tends to separate us. And so can we look at that? Can we talk about that? Let's not, nobody's bad here, but what is it that we're not meeting in Michelle that she feels like she needs to step in and separate us?
Well, and I think too, Jim, when we're talking about divided families, whether they have come from divorce or, there are families that get divided, even if their parents aren't divorced.
Sure.
What are some of the challenges? Yeah. What are some of the challenges that we can meet head on to bring about connection, even if we don't all fall in the same camp?
Yeah, you're so right. We hardly use the word blended anymore because sometimes they've been married. Sarah, you've been married a long time.
Yeah.
But typically we say, people, they fall in love and then they expect the kids to fall in love with the, the opposite parent or the non-biological parent. And a lot of times that doesn't happen. So yeah, Michelle's she's been a handful for all these years. They're all 39 probably. And so, Becky, when you ask that question, we have to face the fact that we have to learn how to be a new family, and sometimes we don't do that well enough. But I'm going to go. I want to give you an illustration, Sarah. I was thinking about what Jill just said to you, and really that would happen in counseling, and that might be able to be exactly what you need if you sat with a counselor with your husband and said, how do we get on the same page on this? That way you're not having to do that tit for tat, because that doesn't work, and that's not going to work, especially when it's biological children, yours and his. But, I really do suggest on this case that you talk with somebody, because you can improve your relationship with your husband. Once you improve the relationship with your husband, then some of these things that are hurtful to him or hurtful to you or whatever, it's kind of go away because you become a team. So some of the ways he handles conflict, just from what you've said, is not a healthy way to do this. And his, you said mad, but I'd call it anger. His anger is secondary. There's something else going on. And literally try to get to some of the bottom of that. I find people who do best in a blended family are people who literally take the time to get on the same page, you become united, understand the fact that a biological child of one is not going to be sometimes as comfortable with the other one. That's not always the case, but it is a lot of times. And how do we work this together? Because you want to become a we together instead of opponents on this thing, and he's turning it into an opponent right now, and I feel your pain.
Well, and he's feeling betrayed, right? Yeah. He's feeling like that somehow you've been sneaky with the money, right? And so I don't know what else is going on with him in terms of money, but a lot of dynamics get played out.
And that's going to go. That could go away because he sees and trusts her for 39 years. He's seen that she's not done that, but somehow he has to be a person who's going to trust Sarah, or Sarah obviously feels like she wants to run. The grass isn't going to be necessarily greener after 39 years. It's going to be, someplace to run. It's, learn how to communicate more effectively.
Well, and that wanting to run, Sarah, I think it feels probably really overwhelming. And when we want to run, we just want to get away from all the pain, because it feels like, how can we ever unravel all of this? And so, to be blamed for something and treated as if you've done something when you haven't, that can feel very defeating.
Yeah. Sarah, what were you going to say?
I was just going to say that I'm the one that has taken care of the finances since day one. Our credit score is 30 points from perfect. I do not do what I've been accused of.
That's why, but that's why it hurts you. But that's
right.
But that's not a reality. Sarah, you are hurting because it is such a false judgment on you. And and like you just said, Jill, he's saying, let's do life without the kids, because this is the lie that a lot of times people will believe in isolation. I'm fine until there's people around me. It's like, but we have to learn to exist with each other. And I love what you just said, though, Jim. And Sarah, maybe you invite him to come to our intimacy and marriage workshop. I mean, it could be the best thing, a united front moving forward. I think we'll send you a copy of what would be a good one. Joe, what are you thinking?
Violence.
Yeah, How We Love.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking, but I just wanted to get affirmation.
Yeah, that
from
was
the
the
smart
only
people
one
in the
that
room.
came to mind.
Thank you, Sarah. We'll be praying for you, and we know that it's hard, but it's a good challenge to meet head on. It's, everybody's hurt right now, but 39 years is a long time to just throw in the towel, and he needs to have some tools so that he can manage some of these overwhelming feelings that he's having. Our families are our testing ground for how we move about in the world, but it's not always a very healthy experience, but we can work on it. We'll be right back taking your calls after this.
It had become very apparent that some of the things I was involved with were taking over my life.
In today's world, men are barraged with inappropriate content and images all day, every day. Some say that certain behaviors are just no big deal. It's just part of being a guy. But it's simply not true. It's a battleground for every man, and the opportunities to fail are everywhere. New Life's Every Man's Battle Workshop can help.
After 7 years, just one weekend, a completely changed man.
For over 20 years, New Life Ministries has been helping men regain their integrity and purity through their one-of-a-kind Every Man's Battle Workshop.
He said, I think this is something that every man should go to. Married, dating, it was definitely life-changing.
Now the workshop is coming to Washington, D.C. November 4th through the 6th. Don't wait for him to call. To find out more, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE or go to newlife.com.
I just can't say enough of what New Life has done for our marriage.
1-800-NEW-LIFE. Chris Williams on coaching.
Oftentimes I get asked, what is the difference between therapy and coaching? The biggest difference between the two is that a therapist is going to be looking for a diagnosable mental health condition, whereas a coach is going to look at a particular issue and help a person work through that.
If you need a coach, call New Life today and ask about the New Life Coaching Network. Our coaches have been trained and screened with the same intensive process we use for our network counselors.
If you're looking at an issue in your life that you just kind of want to change, whether it be your weight or leadership or other areas of behavioral patterns, check out coaching. There can be some really, really helpful things for you.
Take control of your life and take action to achieve your goals. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433 and talk to us about getting a New Life coach. 1-800-NEW-LIFE. We'd love to hear from you. If you have a question or a comment, call toll-free 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back.
Sorry, we're making jokes.
I just talked. No, it's okay. When we were talking before the break, we were talking about intimacy and marriage and how we love, and we're going to have our intimacy and marriage workshop this weekend in Dallas, and so it's not too late. Maybe this would be a great start to the next year for your marriage. Yes, it's so, I love that cheerleading in you,
yes.
Jill. That's perfect. And even if you're curious, a lot of times people will say, well, it's not what I think it's going to be. And it's like, you don't know until you go. But when you go, you can say, we did something for our marriage. It's a marker in our life together that we wanted to not only have better communication and better connection, but we want to have a marriage that is meaningful, that, we enjoy each other's life and our lives that we've built together. So just join us in Dallas. You will not regret that. We're going to go back to the calls. We're going to talk with Ginger, who's calling us from Phoenix, Arizona, watches us on YouTube as well. Hi, Ginger. Thanks for calling. How can we help you today?
Hi, yes. I follow Steve on Facebook, and he had a couple posts last week. One was on letting go of bitterness, and I think the other one talked about people pleasing or something. And that's my struggle. Like, I've been working on this really hard for the last 10 years, but I'm not quite where I want to be. When people don't respond in kind or the way that I feel like I would respond, or be as thoughtful to me as I am to them, I let it affect me a lot. And I just, I wondered if you had some tips just for me to keep continuing to work on not focusing on that so much and just accepting
That's
people,
great.
I guess.
That's a great question, or a great just journey, right? Jill, let's start with you. How can we help Ginger?
Well, Ginger, I think that's a hard thing when you feel like you put out a lot of effort, right, to be pleasing to people and to accommodate them, and they don't do the same in return. And we often see that dynamic with people that are takers often attract people pleasers. And so I want you to think about the people that you feel some, secret resentment towards, right? That you constantly are trying to please and you can't please. Some people, are unpleasable. Or I should say, do you know that? That there are some people that we can't please, and they want to keep you in that position, right? So it's important to look at the people outside of your family that you're choosing as friends. And are you always the giver, the pleaser, and they're the takers? And I've had to help people adjust their friendships, right? Set some boundaries, pull back, and seek out different types of people, because you want to be in friendships where there's some mutuality, right? It's not just one-sided. And that doesn't mean it has to be equal or you have to have, the same qualities. It just has to be some give and take there. The other thing is the people-pleasing is often falls into the codependent arena too, because sometimes it's that very indirect way of, if I please you, then you won't hurt me, and then maybe you'll give me what I need. And so learning to be a little more assertive, Ginger, and having your own voice and asking for what you need and looking at what is scary about that. What is scary about being more direct with people and having an opinion and not just accommodating? And so as you do that, some people won't like it. And that's often the fear. They're not going to like it, right? And they're going to try to push you even harder to get you back into your old role. But that's how you're going to see, is there some, flexibility in these friendships? Are they going to allow me to be an adult in the relationship? And then as you do that, right, some of that bitterness is going to go away, because we are mad at them for not, meeting our needs that we haven't even told them about, right?
Well, and I was wondering too, Ginger, what particular relationships is this occurring in? Is this like everybody that you are encountering, or do you have? Go ahead.
There was a friendship I kind of had let go in this last year, but it kind of did start with in-laws, and so it's been a journey that's been going on for 20 years. In the last few years, I've learned, like you said, you can't always please everyone. Right. I feel like I do better with it in friendships, just because I have started to just learn, okay, I don't have to bend over backwards, but I still struggle when it is within extended family. I think that's maybe the part I'm still struggling, because you have that tie or social media or these things, and it makes it awkward, because I want to be a nice person. I'm just a caring person. And so not everyone's that way back.
That is true.
It just gets awkward. It gets awkward.
Yeah, it does. Well, Ginger, hold on. You can hear the music. Well, and I can tell that you're working on it. We're going to go to a break, but I don't want you to go anywhere.
We got more to say.
Because we want to hear from Jim. But, it is, I love that you just said, I want to be a nice person. I would venture to say you probably are a nice person.
That's not the
and
problem.
That's probably why this is going on for you, because our expectation a lot of times is that people will treat us the way that we treat them. And surprise, it doesn't always happen that way. And then you're just like, you're stunned when you get responses that you get. It's like, oh my gosh, I didn't know you had that in you to treat me like that. But I think there is a way to manage that and to let go of that resentment, because then that does impact how you go about in the world. We'll be right back and continue this call after.
For most of my life, I've been dealing with an opiate addiction.
Why is opioid addiction quickly becoming one of our nation's biggest killers? Maybe it's because it isn't only those who are addicted who are in denial.
We did what I see so many parents do, is it can't be an addiction. There's something medically wrong.
It's impossible to solve a problem when you don't know what you're up against, and families will try to find any explanation except the one that will put them on the right path.
Alcoholism and drug addiction is a family disease. It doesn't affect just the individual.
If someone you love is abusing painkillers, know what you're up against. It's time to admit it's addiction and seek treatment. Call us today at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. We have Christ-centered partner treatment centers around the country. Call 1-800-639-5433 or visit us online at newlife.com.
We just made a decision. We will do whatever it takes.
1-800-NEW-LIFE.
I was sort of vaguely familiar that the 12 steps had some origination in the Bible. I found life recovery. And one of the things I liked so much was that it had such a broad appeal. It wasn't limited to just alcohol or drugs, that it was addressing a wide range of problems.
At New Life, we believe everyone can benefit from a life recovery experience. There are life recovery groups all over the country. They take place online, in conference calls, and in person. And if there isn't one in your area, we can help you start one. We have startup materials, leaders' guides, CDs, Bibles, and more, all with discounts available for groups. Call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE and ask for Terry Ward. The 12 Steps have long been a great help to people in recovery because much of the 12 Steps' power comes from the fact that they capture principles clearly revealed in the Bible.
The 12 Steps is really a pattern for all of us as Christians.
Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433. We're glad you joined us for New Life Live. To be a part of the program, call 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back. We were speaking with very nice Ginger before the break. And Ginger's talking about how it feels when you're on the receiving end of people's rejection or rudeness or just uncaring
lack
responses.
Of care.
Yeah. And then what do you do with that resentment that kind of builds up over time? Jim, I would love for you to speak into this as well. What would you offer to Ginger?
Well, I agree with you, Becky. Ginger, you are a nice person, I can tell. And sometimes people aren't, when you're nice, some people aren't as nice back. Mm-hmm. But, right. When do we feel best? We feel best when we're kind to people. And so I think we turn it inward and lower our expectations on the response and still be kind. When you look at the Bible talks about the definition of love, but the definition of love says love is, love is kind. And that's actually right in there. And so, again, you're going to love people by being kind. It doesn't say, and then they're going to be kind to you. Another part in the Bible, when it talks about the fruit of the Spirit, and, what is, the fruit of the Spirit? So we're filled with the Holy Spirit. It's love, joy, peace, patience, kindness. So, again, I think we're called to be kind regardless of how they react. And we have to be able to, work through that fact that we're not being kind for a response. We're just simply being kind. And kindness does break barriers, and kindness does matter big time. And you're not always going to get it that way, especially because I think people who, like yourself who are super kind, you're not going to get that from everybody. That's their own pain. And their own, brokenness, if you would, but still be kind. You're going to feel better when you're kind. So somehow, how do you get past that? Talk about people pleasing. I used to tell people I was the president of the People Pleasers Anonymous until I found there was actually an organization. They said, I'd like to know more about your organization. No, I was kidding. But the point being that I have to watch my own spirit, that if I'm being kind to somebody, I just need to do it because that's what I'm called to do. As a Christian, that's what I'm called to do as a person who wants to be nice. And so you'll have to get past the fact that these responses, that's their problem, not your problem. Yeah, still be kind.
We would like people to follow the golden rule, right? But they don't. And so part of it with people in your family, Ginger, is seeing who they are and accepting that, not liking it, but accepting and operating off of that knowledge, and then deciding who you want to be as a person, right? Irrespective of their interaction with you. And that's what you're called to do. So the lowering the expectations is of that if I do this, they'll do this back.
Mm-hmm.
No,
right.
There's not a guarantee there. And that's where the bitterness sets in.
Good stuff, Jill.
Yes. I love that. Ginger, I think we're gonna send you a copy of Take Your Life Back, which I think will give you some insight into this. Oh, see, we're on the same page.
Yes.
No pun intended. But I just think what you just said though is so true, both of you, is that we don't want other people to determine how we are going to be. And in our reaction, it's where we can do our work and we can go forth and spread kindness. I mean, what a great way to do. Speaking of spreading kindness, I think Larry Sonnenberg spreads kindness wherever he goes. Butterflies and rainbows.
Everywhere.
I can see Larry, a butterfly over his head right now here in the studio.
Used to be a halo, but now it's a butterfly.
Oh my goodness.
Friday is Intimacy in Marriage in Dallas, Texas.
Mm-hmm.
And this is another chance for me to share a testimony. And I like this one because part of what we do at New Life is we want people to take Romans 12:2 for people to learn to think differently, to change the way they think. And so listen to this testimony. I'm leaving the Intimacy and Marriage workshop with a newfound way of how I see my husband. So she's thinking differently. Instead of two histories colliding, we will work on healing two children who were very hurt and traumatized. I believe this will bring us closer together than we've ever been. I'm also understanding that my marriage is the most important relationship aside from God, and it needs to be my primary focus. I came here in desperation, and I'm leaving with a lot of love and faith. So, folks, be open to changing the way you think. It starts with a phone call, 800-NEW-LIFE, and just say, I need to know more about this marriage workshop, and they can help you out. And if money's an issue, if it's just a little too much, if you could give a little bit of anything, we can probably help you with a scholarship. So give us a call, 800-NEW-LIFE. And while you're at it, even if whether you're interested in the marriage workshop or not, call that same number and say, I'd like to make a gift towards the matching gift. We're gaining on it. This is a recorded program. Can't tell you the latest update, but we're over 200,000 the way to 361. And so we're getting there, but you're getting there. So thank you for your gifts. Thank you for giving. And God bless you. Thank you.
Yeah, it really does make a difference. It changes people's lives. And I heard a donor once said that he wanted to continue to give because in this world where there's so much confusion and so much hurt and isolation, New Life offers hope for people and insight for people for God's healing journey for their lives. And so I just want to say thank you. You can go to newlife.com and click on that donate button, or you can call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE to give. Thank you, Larry, so much. And we appreciate that. We're going to go back to the calls, and we're going to talk with Raymond, who's calling us from Flint, Michigan. WSNL is where he listens. Hi, Raymond. How can we help you today?
Hi. Thank you so much for taking my call. Really appreciate that.
Of course. You're welcome.
My question for you today is, do you think God allows certain things to continue on, or certain things that can be considered bad to happen to draw us nearer to God? And the reason I'm asking this, I can give you an example. My mother is disabled. She struggles physically every day. She's in pain, several problems with her. But I do always hear her, praising God and asking God for healing and asking God for strength to help her to get through this pain and just glorifying God. And he's been using her to, she's moving, she's getting about even through her pain. She's bringing glory to God. And another example I would like to give is we've been poor on several occasions, and there were some nights where we didn't have food, or we had to leave the stove open to heat the house, or sometimes we didn't have a house. And what I've learned is, looking back on it now, we've had to depend on God so much that it kept him on our mind all the time. And if I had everything I needed, truth be told, I probably wouldn't even think of God. I'd probably just think of him on Sundays. You know what I mean? But because I depend on him.
It's a great question, Raymond. Let's, Jim, you want to start with, just why does God allow bad
Raymond,
things to happen?
I think you answered your own question in a beautiful way, to be honest, because, the Celtics 1,000 years ago came up with a phrase called thin places, and some of us call it thin spaces, and that's where heaven and earth meet. And what's interesting is a lot of times they meet like with your disabled mother. They meet in times of tough times, or in quiet times, or in times when you don't have the money to heat the house and things like that. And we sense God's presence. So I think, he's there. So he allows it. I don't think he sometimes, he's not a punishing God. So he's not punishing us and then causing us to, draw to him. But, the Bible says, draw near to God and he will draw near to you. And so what I think we do in the midst of our pain, it doesn't matter what the circumstance is. If we will draw near to him, his promise is that he'll draw near to us. So yeah, he allows some of those things, I think, to so that we can grow and be closer to him. But I don't think he's sometimes he's not the great cause for all of the pain in the world. I think we do a pretty good job of making that happen ourselves. But he's present in our pain, and that's where, for me, in my times of brokenness or my times of pain, that's where God is closest to me usually. And it's, again, where heaven and earth kind of meet in this time of pain.
Jill?
Right. Paul talks about being content in all circumstances, right? We're not guaranteed our circumstances. We're not guaranteed good circumstances. But if our goal is to draw near to God, right, and to keep our eyes on him and to become more and more Christ-like, then all the things in this imperfect, fallen world are to help us to point to God, right? And to draw into him and whatever it takes. So in spite of the circumstances, wow, your mom is a hero. Right?
Yeah. Because you know what? Well, and the thing is, Raymond, not everybody does turn to God.
No,
some people
she's got
reject
a deep
God.
Faith.
Yeah, she's got a deep faith, and I love that she led you in that way. I have no idea what we should send Raymond. A Life Recovery Bible. How about that? God's Word. Raymond, you brought up a great question. I hope that we gave you some just confirmation that you already knew the answer, that we do have to seek God. And I love what you just said, Jim, that draw near to God and he will draw near to you. It's the hope that we have, because God is ever present in our time of need and our time of trouble. Thank you, Raymond, for bringing that up. We're going to go back to the calls after this break. We're going to talk to Mary. And we're just so grateful for your listeners. We'll be right back.
My husband was involved with pornography addiction.
He was unfaithful. I called the wedding off. He stepped out on the marriage and ended up having a child.
The Restore Workshop is designed for a woman dealing with a man's sexual addiction issues.
My husband is a recovering sex addict. There were strip clubs, other ladies.
If you've been affected by betrayal, an emotional or physical affair, or pornography, the Restore Workshop will equip you with support and tools to help you through.
Restore has empowered me and has given me the tools to work through my anger, work through my pain, work through my confusion, and help me realize that I am worthy.
Being here and being surrounded by people who get it has given me my power back.
The Restore Workshop is coming to Washington, D.C. November 3rd through the 5th. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE to find out more. That's 1-800-639-5433 or online at newlife.com.
Thank you, Restore. You have changed my life forever.
Hi, this is Steve Arterburn, and for over 34 years, New Life has been the most trusted name in Christian counseling.
Your ministry has saved my life.
If you struggle with emotional hurt, family or marriage problems, the pit of depression, or the pain of addictions, we can help.
I'm down 100 pounds now from what I was.
Our treatment programs provide clinically appropriate solutions from licensed professionals, all in a biblical framework.
I have had problems with alcohol. I think God has ordained this place to be His.
You don't have to be a prisoner of your pain. Help is available at 1-800-NEW-LIFE.
She tells me that I'm a new man, and I feel like a new man.
It worked for me, and it can work for them too.
This time it is different.
If you're ready to take the first step towards genuine spiritual and emotional healing, call us today at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. God can open the door to a better tomorrow. Call 1-800-639-5433.
To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back. We are going to have a special show tomorrow with Dr. Chris Thurman to discuss 12 of the most important psychological traits of Christ that we should focus on to experience emotional health. It will be interesting. And he's going to answer your calls as well. And so, you just might want to tuck that away. Think about some questions you might want to ask him. Right now, we're going to take a question from Mary, who's calling us from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, listens on WFIL. Hi, Mary. How can we help you today?
Hi. Thank you so much for taking my call. It's a tough one for me anyway. My high school sweetheart and I ran into each other several years ago, and I was separated. He's still married, and I have got my divorce, and it's been several years now, and he is still married, and I'm loaded with shame that I'm involved in this kind of a relationship. I sometimes feel like it's an out of body because I can't. I think about the pain for his wife, but he says she doesn't care, and I believe that because of they have cohabitated for like 20 years, but that doesn't mean I don't. She may not care.
Right.
He's taken and he's had a heart attack. He's had major eye surgery, and he's had to deal with a lot of things with his own children. All of that now is behind him, and he's still dragging his feet. And when I leave, he gets so unbelievably angry. It frightens me, and he tends to lure me back in. And this is a toxic dance. And I want to have the courage to say to him, I need to leave you, and if you really want to be with me, take care of everything and then come back. But when I've done that before, he just flips the hell out. So I'm really stuck, and I don't know what to do.
So, Mary, his anger is working.
Yeah.
Right? It keeps you close. It keeps you close. Okay, so you know this dance, and your stance is absolutely correct, right? And Mary, you're telling me this, you can't believe that you're even in this, right? That you've done this, because it sounds like it goes against what you believe. And
I do.
Right? But it's hard because our emotions don't care what we believe. Our heart, can be fooled and can be deceived. And lots of well-meaning Christians, unfortunately, have affairs, right? And then they justify it. So if you are serious about taking the stance, because it's a stance about honoring God, right?
Yes.
Then you have to get some accountability, Mary. You have to do it differently, because every time you just tell him, you allow him to lure you back. So you've got to do something different.
Yes. That's why I'm calling.
Right. You need.
I also and Jill, that whole concept of support, because Mary, you're trying to do this on your own, and we started the show today about bossiness and aggressiveness. He's the king of it, and I would say that some of his reaction is coming from his own shame, because when you say until you get this all figured out, I'm done. and you're shining a light on the fact that he isn't doing the right thing, but you too are going against what you would want to be part of who you are. And so you can't do it by yourself, obviously, but I just wonder if you have people around you. Does anybody else know about this relationship with him?
Yes, and they, instead of supporting me or filling me with shame, and just have walked away from me.
Mm. Mm.
And I'm already filled with it.
Right, exactly.
Oh,
So, Mary,
Mary,
are you in therapy? Are you getting some help that way with a Christian therapist?
Yes, I joined a group that's nonprofit.
Good.
A bunch of women like me.
Okay.
And I have a counselor I just got.
Perfect.
So,
Perfect. Because sometimes, you need to go outside of friends for the support when it's something. Because I can see where people are in a dilemma. They don't want to support you in this sin, right? Yet at the same time, you're trying to free yourself from it. And that's where we really need other people. So
and Jill, talk about the power differential here for Mary is he is in control. Like, you don't have the control, Mary.
Right.
No.
Right. And the thing is, too, even if his wife is the worst wife ever, it doesn't matter. It's still wrong. And see, he's holding on to both, Mary. He's not honoring her, and he's not honoring you. And so while it feels fun to, in a sense, be the special one, how special are you really? Right? That he's dangling you both along like this, and he's not being a trustworthy person on either side.
Right.
No.
Well, I would even wonder about future.
Exactly.
Jim, what would you what would you offer to Mary?
Mary, I feel your grieving and I feel your pain, but I'm waving a red flag. Okay, and to me, when I'm waving a red flag, that says, and I'll use the word you used, it's a toxic relationship. And you don't feel right about it. And then when he gets angry, you come back. Well, it's like I have a 5-year-old granddaughter that was screaming the other day. And I said, "Why are you screaming?" She says, "Because when I scream, I get my way." Well, guess what? When he gets angry, he's getting his way, but it's not a healthy thing for you. I can feel it in your voice. Now, so you're torn, but the truth of the matter is you know what to do. You have a conviction. Be courageous. And this is a marathon. It's not a sprint. So maybe long term, he'll get his act together and he'll figure out something, and maybe you're a part of it, maybe you're not. But right now, he's not treating you with honor. He's not treating you with respect. He's using you, and he's using his wife. And to be honest, in a little sense, you're using him too to meet certain needs. But I have a red flag, and that's not a flag that says shame, shame, shame. I just say, no, this is not healthy. And I think, and you called us, and so I just want to say to you, with all love I can muster, be courageous, do the right thing, and you know what it is. In fact, my friend John Ortberg always says this: love God and do the right thing. Love God and do the right thing, and you know what to do.
Because a lot of times, Mary, when it's a big decision, it feels like you have to do it all at once. It could be that you start by just not being as available at, whether it's don't take the calls. And go ahead, Jill.
Well, I was going to say, and tell God that you want to honor him.
Yes.
And ask him for the strength and the people that can help stand with you, right?
I love that.
Okay. You can't do this alone.
Mary, we are praying for you, Mary, and we will look forward to hearing back from you and to hear how God has answered that prayer. We're going to send you a copy of Healing is a Choice, because I think that will help you just on multiple levels. A lot of times it looks like the thing is the thing, but it's really all the stuff that's underneath it. And you got into the relationship for some unmet need, and now it's beginning to destroy you. We want for you to have freedom in your life. Thank you, Jim, and thank you, Jill. Thank you, listeners. If you need something, we're here for you. Call us, 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Go to newlife.com. There's great tips and free articles that you can read, and share New Life with somebody else. You never know how it might save their life. We appreciate you.
Thanks for listening.
Thanks again.
We hope this program has helped you by giving you insights for handling the challenges you face in your life. We want you to know that we're here for you, but you also need to know that New Life Live is a listener-supported ministry. To make your donation or to get any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433, or write to us at New Life Ministries, P.O. Box 1029, Lake Forest, California, 92609. Please join us again tomorrow for New Life Live.
Hi, thank you for watching New Life Live. You know, New Life Live is a Christian counseling program where we deal with the hard questions about life, relationships, kids, free choice, freedom of will, whatever. It's all right there on New Life Live every day, every weekday, 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific. If you want to call into the live broadcast, you can find the schedule on newlife.com or click the social media link right below. You can see every episode of New Life Live on the New Life YouTube channel. Watch it with a friend, watch it later. Be sure to subscribe and hit that bell so you'll never miss another episode. So if you want to listen on the go, download the app. The link is right below. And I hope if you need some information, if you want to get some help, you'll call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. And I'll see you next time.